We bonding? There's the bonding. Yay! Hold on. Boom. Put this over here. Huh? Now we're staring at one screen. All right, who's got it together this morning? Boom, I do. I got the green on and everything. Huh? Who can do stuff? I can. All right. Couple things that I would go over that I think are really, really, really important. December is kind of that month where everybody tries to look at their life choices and they quit. And says, I'm going to pick this up next year, or I'm going to do this year. A friend of mine calls it separation season. And I think that's how you should look at it. So if you're struggling with trading and you're like, I'm going to quit, I'm going to give up, or I'm struggling with investing, do it in January and relook at it. Because the majority of people, for whatever reason, look at it in December and say, this isn't for me. Next year I'm going to do this more, and therefore it's not going to matter. And we all know they're not going to do that. So just keep that in mind. I see a lot of that in December, like a lot. And I don't know why it is. I don't know why people will quit in December, but I see it. I've been watching retail for 3 years now, like since we started the community and really the YouTube, and it never fails. It's December is quit month. And what I always refer to it now, and a friend of mine does as well, it's where I got the phrase, it's just separation season. So that's how you need to look at it. This is what separates winners from losers, and it's up to you to choose what side you want to be on. So not much I can do about that. Hold on one second. YouTube stream defaulted to your non-main mic, so I give this great speech, and it's on the wrong mic. Hold on, that speech was awesome too. It defaulted to the camera mic because I need in the morning. Another blessing, another test. Should be better now, brother. Let me know. Trading. Is that a Casual Crashers emblem I see in your profile picture? Excellent. I thought that was Casual Crashers. I play that with my son. Well, I used to. All right. How about that? What else do you need from me? Just need the indexes. Well, here you go. Boom. Ask and ye shall receive. So anyway, don't quit. Don't be one of those people. Don't be one of those people. You'll regret it for the rest of your life. Close without saving. I used to do that. I used to trade, but it's hard. Wow. Life's hard. All right, let's go. So the biggest thing that I would say that I took away, and I'll tell you this I read research all weekend. And the biggest piece of research that I would take away from this week that I read that I thought was fascinating was the correlation or lack thereof between the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the macro. So the correlation is going away, meaning that when one moves, the other moves, etc. Why do you care? You care because if that's what happens, the market goes a lot higher, and it's usually the NASDAQ that leads, even though it doesn't look that way right now. So whenever you have a very low correlation between the S&P and the NASDAQ, and the correlation gets really skewed, it's usually a bull market that you're heading into, and it usually is the NASDAQ that leads. So keep that in mind. I actually think the NASDAQ is going to broaden out this year coming up. I do. These are the big levels I would look at. You're coming into December. You're coming into tax selling. I'm going to do it on the video tonight so you guys will know like what tax selling looks like and how you can tell that it's happening. Also, you sell your losers now and you don't really sell your winners. So this is when you see winners continue to go higher and losers continue to go lower, and people can't figure out why. I'll give you a great year where this happened, and then you saw the rebound, and it was a great time to buy names. But these are the levels I have right now for the NQ. So the 21, then you're down here at 21 or 29, 40, and then you're 2080, like 800. They're the ones I'd watch. And really what you're looking for are these tests and bounces. And if you see those tests and bounces, that's really what you want to play. These are textbook markets. They really are, where you were coming to support levels and you were hitting resistance levels and you were rejecting. Buy supports, sell resistances. You're not in a breakaway market. So think of this market, like think of the pandemic when you trade the pandemic as, you're in a, you're like the pandemic. Think you're in a Lamborghini, all right? And that's how the market moved. And now you're in like, I don't know, like a Prius. Like the market's going to move. You're going to get there, but you're just not going to get there as fast, which is not a bad thing because it allows you to position build and trade, right? It allows you to really hone your skills and learn. It's actually a much better market being in the Prius than the Lamborghini driving right now because you can really build and you can really get in there. Where before it's just like you better act or you're going to miss your ride. But I'd watch this. And what really, if you're going to get over a level and hold that level, you're going to just want to make sure that you actually do. And the easiest way to do that is something like this. So let's say we're over a key level that we're watching, which clearly, anybody would be watching this level, right? You already know that. That's the high of Friday. And see what happens Sunday, you were at the lightning, and now you're up here. So anybody would watch this level and want to know what's going on. It's just common sense. So what you want to see is, am I going to get this, right? That kind of thing. If you get something like that, then you could say that this held. I don't know that you could say that held just yet, right? I don't know that you could say that, but that's kind of how I look at it. And I'd want to go from there. That's how I would want to look at it. Strap it to a 1. I'll show you what I mean. So has that really held yet? Not really. Have you made it over that higher high? Not really. So, if you want to see if you're going to flip that level, maybe what you do is just put a line here and maybe put an alert there so that alert goes off when you're up there. And then you go, oh, okay, we are breaking that. Because right now you would just have to go on the assumption, like all these others, that you're just going to fail, right? It's just going to collapse again like it did here, like it did there, over and over and over again. And that's really how you want to focus on it. So I can't stress that enough. That's how I would look at it. And I do think that, there's certain other sectors out there you really want to pay attention to and kind of go from there. But I really want to take a lot of questions today. I know I'll get asked about NVIDIA, so we'll go through it. This morning already, you came all the way back to where you closed, which was literally like, I think it was like right here is where the close was, something like that. And you've rejected that close and now you're selling back down. So it is what it is. That's not surprising in the morning to come to that previous close, sell down, and then kind of go from there. And, you just kind of play it by ear and you'll see how that plays. But I don't think there's much to do there. Kind of see, you're kind of in that wonky spot. Really what you want is you want it to kind of pull back to a level like that low, like it did here, and then see if it's going to hold. You could actually have a whole range down here between the pre-market and the low of the day. So you kind of have this window down here really where it could bounce between, that low, this pre-market low. Like when you really start looking at it, there's a pre-market low, there's the low, here's the pre-market low, taking out the low. So you start getting into it, you kind of have this window in here more than anything, right? So you might just want to mark that off if you're playing NVIDIA, because you're going to want to watch how it acts in there. It probably gets there again. If not, you really wouldn't want to touch it until it does something like, where it flips it. And that's how I would look at this today. I wouldn't go, get more intricate than that with the day. If it doesn't do something like that, then you have to assume you're going to reject. And then you're going to look at these kinds of levels. The fact that you held the 55 to me is really impressive. And I keep going through this in my head thinking, are we going to sell off on like the big 7? Or are they just going to underperform? Pardon me. And I think they're going to underperform. That's where my head is. I don't think that they're going to fall apart. I was of the school thought that they were going to fall apart, but that's kind of how I always think. I always think it's going to get worse than it does. And we'll go from there. Other names that you guys are going to ask me about is Tesla, because you always do. It's acting great. There's very little to say about it. You can see the buying at the end of the day on Friday. Anybody could see that, right? Watch today as well, the end of the day buying. You're having follow through on those end of days. They're coming back again and again and again. And then really what you'd want to look for is, can I get back down to something like this level? And if so, is there some area for me to buy? And kind of go from there. And you have a bunch of little levels in here that you could watch. And you can get to any of these at any time for any reason. you got to realize that like Friday at 11:30, you're at 337. So do you really want to pay 352? You know why? Because somebody said the word robot, or he had Thanksgiving dinner with Trump. You know, you might want to bide your time, but it's up to you how you trade. But I would look for pattern recognition at key levels, and then kind of go from there. I find that to be most helpful on days like today. People are going to be very skittish today because it's December. And you have 3 big dates left with events. So, you know, one is this week with payrolls, and then you have non-farm pay, and then you have FOMC and CPI. Like, there are your 3 big macro events from now till 2025. So just remember that, and pay attention to them, and, you know, go from there. Other than that, what else is of interest to me? Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, that I think is really there. The NASDAQ, Tesla. What else did I really want to go over? Oh, I want to go over this. I thought this would be important. IGV names, you saw them come down a little bit. This is actually healthy. You know, you're back to the 12. This is where it stopped last time. Yeah, I mean, crowd was not good. So I'm not overly surprised that this came in. Now, you're not really breaking the 22, and you're not really falling apart. So I don't know that you have to go on the assumption that this is going to be a bloodbath. I don't think you have to go on that assumption, but I think there's a couple other assumptions you should go on. You know, like, I think the IGV names are good, but like Snow, you know, I really wanted to get back involved on this. And then you have this down day, and then you gap up and you hold and you hold, and then you get this doji. I'll tell you what's really cool about trades like this is that it's like, yeah, we're not going to sell down. We're going the other way, Boomer. So they're telling you that this is going higher. You might not like the way they're telling you, but that's what it's telling you. It's ugly. It's not attractive at all. I've seen attractive. It doesn't look like this. It looks like this. It looks disgusting. And, you know, it's not great, but there it is. And if you mark off these levels, you can see it pretty clearly where these levels are. So I do think that's of interest. And I'd be looking at those IGV names. Reddit had a seller. Whether or not it still has that seller, I don't know. You're bidding up $4 today. You held 132 when you had that seller. Is this where you need to get back in? You know, it's a really good question. I'm not really saying that it is. What I find fascinating is, you know, if you look at this kind of stuff, what you start to see from these levels, you start to see patterns, how this is fanning to go higher. Can it go higher? It can. I mean, this was a blowout quarter, and that's why it broke out. You never really came back from it. You know, up 1, 2, 3, up, like these patterns, really hard to play with. You really have to use those lows as stops, and you can see how that's gone, and now it's developing. It is what it is, but I would pay attention to those. NNE is really interesting. You came right down to that private placement level, 24, 26. Priced at 24, then 26 was the warrants, and then just kind of bonked around in there. So it is what it is. But as far as sectors, I mean, it's finance, and then more finance. They're the names that are just going to just absolutely crush it, in my opinion. I don't think it's even going to be close to anything. I really don't. I don't see how anything's even going to come remotely close to them. And let me just see what else is going on here. If anything, I have to pay attention to. Not really. It is what it is, and we'll go from there. And what else do we have? We should probably go over Bitcoin because you guys will ask me about it. I think it's pretty clear that this bar is kind of in control now, isn't it? You can't get over it. So you have net sellers right here. They're trying, but that 98 level, we'll call it right there, that opening price, which was 97.9, cannot close over 97.9. So that's really what you're looking for in a daily chart. If you come here and you look at it from this perspective, this bar pretty much fits the definition of a control bar where you've broken and everything else except one closed in that range. So this is your range, and whether or not you break out of it or come back and retest, you know, only time's going to tell. And I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but that's how I say it. So, and they're the levels that I would look at and kind of go from there. What else do I have that's of interest? The ES we went over. I went over IGV, the Qs. I've got a plethora of names in here that are kind of interesting, but are they? I don't know. I'm not really interested in this and seeing if it's going to bounce or not. The neck gear is kind of just staying there. I'm kind of losing interest there. PLTR has buyers, like a lot of buyers. When you got back to this gap here, watch this. This was fascinating. So like every single time you got to that close, 64 3/4, you have a buyer just sitting there, like it over and over and over again. So then you can see where your net sellers are. I mean, you're just bounced in. So you can buy it there if you want, but I mean, this is where it's been, rejecting. I don't know that I'd buy it bidding up. I'd be more inclined to buy it when it's down. Unless it holds above here and tests and then goes from there, then sure, maybe you could play that game, but I don't know. I'd be more inclined to buy the pullbacks and retests of levels. That seems to be working the best. And if you get them, you get them. If you don't, on to the next one. There's so many trades out there right now. It's crazy. I do like it. And I just from a technical standpoint, I couldn't get over how easily this thing held as all heck was breaking loose. And it really was. What else is of interest? IWM on the weekly. We should probably talk about this. We should actually probably talk about this on the monthly, even though I went over Saturday's video. I just took my time on Saturday's video looking at monthly charts. I know it was boring, but it's pertinent. When you see this kind of stuff, like, do you think that stuff's going higher? I mean, when you really start looking at this kind of stuff, do you think maybe you should pay attention to it? I know everyone's out there going, oh, I got to get in now. And I'm not saying you have to rush into it, but when you dip, you probably want to be a net buyer, right? I mean, it's really kind of how I think you need to look at it. Now, that's kind of where my head is with it anyway. So hopefully that makes sense to you. But let's take some questions today and we'll go from there because I have the time. What's going on, John? What really surprises me is the Citigroup. Yeah, I like these kinds of pullbacks, and then you go. I don't really like that I'm still sitting here and I'm struggling because you never know how much was there. You just don't know how much is there that these people want to sell. So if I'm going to get through that, I want to be through that emphatically with volume. I just don't have it. I get it. I see it. But I need to get through that like big time, like really push through that and see if we can get up to like this level, 540 or whatever, and kind of go from there. And we'll see how that goes. That's the first one that I would look at and kind of go from there. And then DraftKings. Yeah, if you look at DraftKings here, what I like about this is the setup from this point on from May. So left shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline. Do you break the neckline? You probably are going to break this. And, I'll tell you why I think that. You see the volume on a bad quarter? Like everybody had to get in on this quarter. So when you have a bad quarter like that, it means somebody saw something in the futures that like made them buy it. I don't know what it is. Oh, Christ. It's lifted heavy today. It's killing me right now. But it's one of those things where left shoulder, head, right shoulder. When you have a bad quarter like this and everybody's buying the darn thing, because you have all these people that know the company better than we do, you probably won't pay attention to this. There's probably a reason for it. And you're still struggling with this area. But, when you're here and you're not breaking down. So in other words, what you're doing, like, let me give you an example of what this looks like when it fails first, right? Now, let me think of one. All right, so let me do it this way. Watch this. But wait, there's more. So here's NVDA, right? And then we know that, let me go to this. And we know that getting back to the close, everyone that bought it on Friday is gonna be like, oh, thank God, I'm break even, I'm out. I'm never doing that again. and they all get out. See how fast it gets off that level, right? And it pulls back and then it can't go higher. That means you still have net sellers there. That means people are still like in panic mode and you have to clear them out, right? So when you see that, it's the exact opposite of what it did when it got down here where it had buyers, right? All right. So you have this tug of war. But when you come off a resistance level like that, you pay attention, right? So like when you see like DraftKings, it doesn't matter the time frame. The time frame is the time frame. But when you have something like this, John, right? Like your necklines here. Like I'm not telling you anything you don't know, right? Left shoulder head, right shoulder neckline. So you know that neckline's there already. You don't need me to tell you that, but I'll just point it out. So now you're on the inverse, side of that. I'll just point it out for the people that might not have known. So now you're on the inverse side of that, right? Let's pull this down here and get rid of that. What are you getting here, right? Like, what are you getting? Are you getting that I got to get out? Are you getting this like, oh, thank God I'm break even, I got to go? Like that panic, oh, it's over. I'm never doing that again. That was awful. No, you're getting this here. So what they're doing here is it's picture like Pac-Man. And all they're doing here is just eating up supply. And they're giving you these weird little indecision bars over and over again. Down 1, 2, 3. Oh, surely it's going lower. Is it? Is it? And then you get the doji. Then you get the weird doji. Then you get that. Like this kind of stuff is really a matter of time to me. The way that you could play it is like this. If you don't want to see if it breaks through or not, is you use that low as your stop, and then you see if it pushes through, right? It's there, and you're spreading out into small and mid cap names, which is when this does best. Same as PLTR, but yeah, I mean, you could test 50 again, pretty easy there. You got some names in here I really want to go over. I don't think the RY's one, Royal Bank of Canada, but they're going to do exceptionally well. They're positioned to do exceptionally well. There's very little for me to say about it. Like, it's just going to be one of those. It's just going to be a grinder. And it will. This is fascinating to me that it's still trading under book value. Like I don't get it. And it's one of those things that I'm not going to get. And then it's just going to keep going. It's like when I bought SLG and I just couldn't get why it was trading so much under book value. It made 0 sense to me. And I needed like some like confirmation. And I think it was back here where Japan bought 50%, 245 Park. And since then it just like tripled. It seems to me like it's the same thing. Like, I don't understand how this company, I was looking at this corporate balance sheet that Goldman had. Hold on, let me see if I can find it, John. Where they were breaking these names out. And I couldn't get over, let me see if I can find it. Is that it? If I can find it quickly, I'll pull it up. If not, I'm going to move on with my life. I might be able to do it real quick. All right, so like here. So I was reading this, and it shows like where tier 1 assets are, et cetera, right? But like, and I won't get into all of it, but I'll get into this part of it. So what they're doing, what Goldman was doing, is they're breaking out like, okay, these are the large banks, these are the assets, and this is the tier 1, percentage of tier 1. And so you look at like where the average large bank is, right, is right here. And here's Citigroup. And then you're looking at it and going, okay, so Citigroup as more assets and higher tier 1 than Wells Fargo. And it has, assets under management are higher than Goldman. And so like why is it here? And it's the capital restraints that they put on it, right? And then you think about like, we're going to this period of deregulation. So I don't know, like, because you are going to go through deregulation, whether you want to or not, right? So is this the play? Like, is this the one that's going to go up like 20% because of deregulation, because it's still trading under book, right? See where I'm going with this? So like, I don't know, man. This one's vexing. What are you treating? Like Citigroup, 70 cents on the dollar. Like, book value right now is 102. Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I'm like, what am I missing? Okay, like every quarter you're earning money. Like if you weren't earning money, right? Like if you were having these write downs and you weren't earning money, I might have a concern. Like, is there something on the books that you're not telling us that someone knows? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. It truly doesn't. And it's probably gonna be one of those things that goes to 100 and I can't figure out why. What I'm having a hard time with is, this is like total Buffett name, like perfect. And I don't know why he's not getting involved. So I don't know. Makes me wonder, but I get it. I do like the name. Yeah, please hit the like button. Helps greatly with the algo. And please share this. We're going to get to 100,000 subscribers next year. That's the goal. We're going to do it. BKRLITEEJERJ. The fact that I mispronounced this one means it's probably one I should pay attention to. No, I don't think so. Not now. I'm still short Boeing. We had a trade in the room. It's not working. I actually blew out of the trade in the room, but I'm still short. I think I'm dead wrong. It's just not working. And now I'm getting above that 55 for the first time. Like, that's your first close above the 55 since this break here. So this is the first one. So maybe the other names are going to come in now. I don't know. I got to figure out what I'm doing with that. I probably should move on with my life. It doesn't look like I'm right. This is where you rejected. This is where it should have rejected. And then I get this doji, and then I get the breakout. So candidly, I should be out of the trade. And I know we are in the room already, but sometimes I'll hold them for like a day or two. It seems pointless. I have zero volume. Got a ton of volume here. This makes a lot of sense. Drill, baby, drill. These names make a lot of sense to me. Anything like this. There's so many different ways to look at this too, right? Where you're starting to make higher highs. You can see the turn. You can see the break of the huge DTL that's there. Like, there's so many reasons to get involved with this, right? I'm sure you already saw this. But there's so many reasons to get involved with that trade. I like that out of the three. I wouldn't say I use it for entries and exits. I find great value in looking at it like this. Like here, I'll show you. I find great value in like doing this with it. So looking at it like this and going, okay, the cloud's still green. I touched the cloud and I bounced right out of it. So that's very different than I'm in the cloud, right? And it's very different than like here where I'm out. So if I'm playing it, you better get ready and see how it acts. And then you're like, okay, well, I rejected the lower end of the cloud. Do I want to hold it? Probably not. So like, right, there's stuff like that that I would use it for. Or, all right, well, I'm in the trade still. I bought the trade back because we're flipping this level. Now I'm in the cloud, right? All right, so I know that this area in the cloud is going to be an issue. And you see how it's kind of played with it even as it dropped, right? See how the cloud just follows it? And this cloud's forward thinking, which is crazy to me, how this works. Like, this cloud's forward. It's not at the time. So it's crazy how predictive it is. But it's like, oh, tested. Okay. So like, I definitely on a daily, definitely on a 4 hour. Yeah, 100%. I'll look at this and go, all right, out. Flips it, okay, out, over, yep, okay. And then when they're aligned and they're perfect, yeah. Like, I don't like this at all in the 4 hour, right? And I have a net long, so I'm hoping to start getting up in this so it starts changing, but I've got 3 to 5 days to pop back in it. So I'll use it like that. That's where I find value in it. Like, but if I'm on the other side, like if I'm in a trade, like if I'm long here and I'm in a trade and I'm like trying to convince myself to hold it and I've got like a cross over here, because remember those crosses are like 20, I think it's 26 out, right? Yeah, 26 out. So like if I'm in something like that and I'm like out, so like you're here, right? And you're 26 out and you're breaking down here. And you're starting to get in the cloud, and you're watching this get wider and wider. You kind of have to start I'll start going, what am I doing? And then like, okay, well now we're breaking, like, what am I doing? So there'll be stuff like that I will look at. You're never going to buy the extremes right? You're just not, because the cloud's not going to let you. What it will do is it will keep you in trades longer. That's what it does for me. But I don't know that I would use it entry and exit. There's a whole system. The best video I ever did that people watch the most was this. Is it really 8:55 already? Jeez. The best video I ever did was this, or the one that was watched the most was this video I did on the cloud. But there's a whole way to look at it where, look, it took this guy 30 years to build this system. There's a whole thing to it with these, you know, the lower lines, the upper lines, like there's a whole thing to all these levels. You know, are you above the lagging indicator? Are you, you know, like there's all kinds of stuff to it. So just being candid, like looking at it right now, I'm above this cloud. You see how this one's like pointing down? Like there's no reason that I should be in this trade according to that. But the long-term trend would have me in. And I find the greatest value for me in not using it from a, not using it from that perspective, but using it from the perspective of like, okay, am I aligned with this thing? So like if I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but like, here's a great example. So like, will I use it on an hourly? Yeah, I will. Like I'll use this on an hourly, and then I'll use this too, like alt buy-in as well. And then I'll just kind of go, all right, am I aligned? Like, is everything aligned? And if I'm aligned, it's pretty much on. So like if I'm cracking here and all this is aligned on like the hourly, or and like I'm reversing here and it's all aligned, like very rarely do I want to bet against that on a chart. Like very, very rarely. And I can just show it to you. Pardon me. I'll take that off for a second. And you can see the color changes here versus the color changes here. So all I'm getting is like, oh, I'm short. Oh, I'm okay. And then I'm starting to get signs that I'm not okay. Right. And then I'm all right. Am I? Maybe, maybe not. And then you're like, this is 26 out. Right. And that's the one thing I like about it. It's predictive. It doesn't mean it's going to work, but it's telling you like, we might be turning. And so you're getting that predictive level, like literally on it. And this is a long answer to your question, but it tells you how to use it. So I'm getting that predictive area right here, while this cloud's still yellow and this. So I find it very helpful. Like from there, like, okay, well, maybe my trend's changing, and I'll go from there. But you know, it depends on your time frame. I wouldn't use it on like anything less than an hour for me. Good morning from New York. Good morning from Miami. Yeah, I covered it. You probably heard me. I covered MSTR. What's up, buddy? Sound. Let's go over that one. I think these little guys you start paying attention to a little bit more. I think the little guys are going to make a comeback. All these trades. I really do. This kind of stuff, the volume, you're going to start seeing it. You are. You're going to start seeing these little guys making comebacks, like big time. And the meme kind of names, all that stuff's all going to start making comebacks. I'd start paying attention to it a little bit more. What's up, Eric? Hedge fund managers are not underperforming. Hedge fund managers are having one of the best years they've ever had. So they're not in a big hurry here. What they don't want to do is they don't want to lose their year. So they've been selling puts, or they've been selling out of the money 10% calls and buying at the money puts with the profit into the end of the year to hold their positions. I don't know enough about the story, brother. I would need to know the story. When I see the word pharmaceuticals or therapeutics, me looking at a chart is like, what's the point? Because there's an event coming and I just don't know what it is. You know, I would start looking at these names, Julian. There's a whole forum in the community, you guys already know this, that's dedicated to this. I start paying attention to these names and trying to figure out how they tie into human. I can't believe I'm saying this. I would start looking at these names and start trying to figure out how they're tying into humanoid robots. Like I can't literally say it with a straight face, but that's where we are in the world right now, humanoid robots. You know, God, people are going to stop dating eventually. So, all right, what else we got? What's up, Albino? Nike, I don't know. Are we there? Are we there yet? I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe. Let me take a look. SNTI. What do you got, buddy? I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I'll watch it today because it's obviously people think it's good news, which probably means you got a secondary coming tonight, right? Time to raise money. Interesting market, that's for sure. Ugh. You have no revenue, right? Okay, you have no revenue. So you know a secondary is coming. Whether it affects the name or doesn't affect the name, I'll watch it because it's up and go from there. I had the wrong mic. Thank you. Amazon, you guys are all over. I'm just going to see if we can see anything here. Sound, you guys are asking over and over again. So I try to look for what you guys are asking for over and over again because sometimes they will move. You guys asked a bunch about sound today. You guys asked a bunch about Amazon. Maybe it's worth watching today. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know why it's up. It could just be up because of spending. It's Cyber Monday. It could be up because of that. What else you guys got? Intel CEO out. Well, what that usually means, and it might move on that actually. What that usually means is there might be some kind of merger coming or something. Did they appoint somebody else interim, or is he just out? Yeah, I saw that. I saw Reddit today. I'm not paying up $4. Yeah, I'm not paying up. I didn't want it at 130. I'm certainly not doing it now. I'll wait till it catches up to like the 22 or something. I'm not chasing this thing. I chased it once. It's like a nightmare. You just like drop $20 because somebody sneezes. So it's not really my kind of name up here. I don't like those kinds of names. Get retired. So I find out why. Oh, so we flipped while we're talking. Might as well go look at it. I love when we can do stuff together. But right, that's that level we talked about. We want to make sure that we get through that and then hold that level and then retest, right? So if we're going to go today and we're going to go higher, we want to see this today, right? All right. I got to jump, guys. Trade to win. Oh, if you're trying to get in the community, pardon me. 2 more days. Today, the invitations will go out. Tomorrow, then that's it. Then I'm shutting it down to sometime in 25. All right. Take care. Trade to win.